Now, this is the construction hints and tips for the looped front version of the Classics Nouveau Three Graces t-shirt. And I want to show you this, first of all, because I'm really excited about it. I think it's such a beautiful top. But secondly, I want to prove to you how easy this is, because you'll be kind of amazed, I'm pretty sure. Alright, now the first thing you have to bear in mind is that this here has to be hemmed. Okay, that's the one piece, this and a little opening here has to be hemmed. The rest of it, not so much. So you'd either lay this out on your table once you've hemmed it, or you put it on the stand, whatever's easiest for you, and then you join your two front pieces down the centre front. You see where it opens up there? Just join them like that. And then here is what you do. Please watch closely while I do the magic. Okay, this goes up through here and over there. Oh, and I should warn you when you're doing this, it looks such a mess when you're doing it. I mean, it's really quite awful. And you do it and you're kind of thinking, really, it's going to look just dreadful. And it doesn't, it looks beautiful. Now, I'm going to pin this very roughly and very quickly, just so you get what it should look like. And of course, the pins will be on the outside because, frankly, life's too short to be pinning it on the inside. So, it basically joins up here and down at this side seam here. Now, little tip for you, when you're making these tops, it's always a good idea to label your seams. So get yourself some little adhesive dots or something, or a post-it note or something like that, and mark seam 1, that's going to match up to seam 1, seam 2, seam 2. And it's marked like that on the pattern, so just follow the markings. It's really, really simple. So all you do is you join these pieces down to the notch, wherever the notch has gone. Now, when I did the first version of these, I was very, very good, and I hemmed all my openings and all that kind of stuff, made them all nice and neat. And then I realised you really don't have to do that because you don't see them at all. And I did actually a test one on the wrap front, and I did it, I didn't overlock, I just overlocked the openings and I put it together with the 4th thread. You don't see an ounce of stitching, you really don't. The only stitching you see is around the neckline here. So that's worth taking time on and getting it just right, and the rest of it just slides together, I promise you. Well, perhaps wraps together is the better expression. So now you do the next seam here. This is the side seam curved one. This is the one that kind of snakes under the bust like this. Looks really pretty. Now, the nice thing about this fabric is this is the same bamboo cotton knit that I use, that's from fabric.com. The nice thing about this is it comes in lots and lots of colours, and I wasn't too sure about bright pink, but actually I really like it. I think it's great. And the brights at the moment are the very thing, and the modern way to wear them is to wear them with kind of off-white or neutrals like taupe and tan and stuff. It's very, very chic, very modern. Do not wear them with black. You look like an 80s throwback and you don't want that. So that's one side done. I'm just going to roughly pin it over here so it kind of stays in position. And you can see it still looks a little bit of a mess, but I promise you, you've just got to kind of keep the faith with this. You can't sort of get too stressy about it. You have to trust that it's all going to work out and that you will have a beautiful top at the end of it. So we're going to just keep going here and keep going. Okay. Now, I really just roughly put this together. That's so rough, it's just not true. That's the other top done. And now let's do the final seam. Easy peasy, really is. Now, I would honestly say that it takes you longer to cut and pin these tops than it does to actually construct them. Honestly, it really, really does. They're the quickest, they're the easiest, and like I say, stylistically, you get the most bang for your buck. Very little effort, very big payoff. I love them. I think they're just so great. Okay, so there's that seam together in a rather haphazard fashion. However, now, this still looks a little bit messy because of course you finesse it and make sure it all kind of sits beautifully. And that's what you end up with. You end up with your loop front. There's your loop and there's your drapes here. And of course this looks dreadful. You look at the seams on the outside and everything, but I promise you it works. Now you've seen the loop front one, let's have a look at the wrap over front too. So now I'm going to give you the construction tips for the wrap over front, or the crisscross front, whatever you want to call it. This is the wrap over version of the Three Graces tops. And we start off with one big piece, but there's actually 3 pieces. You've actually got a centre panel, two side pieces, and they're joined with a very small seam here, so just put those together like that to make one big and very strangely shaped piece, I have to say. At the moment this looks a bit like an Alexander McQueen jacket. It's clearly not a t-shirt. Now, pointing out to you that the one piece you have to hem is the neckline on this, but the truth is, if you wanted to leave it raw, you can. You really can. You just need to trim down so it matches up with the back neck facing when you put that on. So I'm doing this on the stand, and it's actually really easy to do on the stand. And once again, I would recommend that if you're going to do this one, that you label your seams, seam 1 to seam 1, seam 2 to seam 2, because if you don't, you'll get really confused. Alright, so here is what you do. Oh, and I should instantly tell you, this is kind of based loosely on a Rick Owens top, but there are a lot of versions of this around at the moment, so it's not just Rick Owens, there's a lot of different ones of these, but they're really, really simple to make, so here's how you do it. Okay, now this one, on the envelope illustration, this side crosses over on top, so we're going to do this one first, and here's what you do. This one here, this piece here, this is seam 1. Okay, and it's going to wrap over and join to seam 1 here. So here we go. And I'm going to be really swanky and try and do it so the pin's on the inside this time. So I'm going to turn it around like this and sweep it around to me just a bit. Now, all you do when you're doing this is you join it from the bottom right up to the notch, or the notches, I should say, and that's it. You really don't have to edge the openings on this, because there's some little openings you have to leave for the whole thing to twist through. The first one I did on this, when I did it, I just edged the openings with an overlock stitch, and I just overlocked it all together, and I promise you, I did it in like a dark grey knit, and I did it in white thread so that I could see what was happening, and honestly you couldn't see a stitch, so it's really, really simple to do, not too much hemming at all, like I say, just around the neckline, that's all you need to do. So, you do up to your notches, like that, and I'm just going to fling this piece out of the way a little bit here. Now, this piece here, let's call this seam 3, shall we? Seam 3 goes to seam 3. That is it. And it just matches up nice and easy. Now, I promise you, on this and on the loop front one, it actually takes you longer to cut it out and pin it, and you really must pin it. Don't try and eyeball this when you're doing it on the machine, because you will know sorrow, let me tell you. Ask me how I know on that one. It actually takes you longer to cut and pin these together than it does to sew them. They are so quick and easy to do, it's just not funny. Okay, so that's the first side done. Now I'm just going to pin this to the sides just so it stays where I put it. And it's not going to be flopping around all over the place. So that stays right here. Incidentally, how fab is this purple colour? Gorgeous. This is another one from fabric.com. It's the same bamboo cotton knit, but I just think this purple, this is one of these kind of orchid purples, suits everybody. If you want a nice bright colour, this is the one to go for. Okay, now we're going to do the second side. So on this one, once again, the outer seam, this one, it's called a seam 3. Seam 3 to seam 3. You're really just crisscrossing the whole thing. Now, there's something I should point out to you about this top and the loop front version, which is when you lay the pattern pieces out, they are very strange shapes. They really are bizarre. And you may be tempted to clean off any little lumps and bumps and strange curves. Please don't. Please don't. They are absolutely essential. I haven't just made a boo-boo, I promise you. These are all really essential to the finished look of the garment. So leave the lumps and bumps in, just put it together, have faith, keep the faith, you'll be absolutely fine. And you will end up with a stunning piece of clothing that people will be very envious of, let me assure you. So that's that one there, and now don't forget we've got one last one, so let's call this seam 4 to seam 4. And I'm flipping this over so I can pin it with the pins on the inside, because it does look so much better than when you've got pins on the outside. But here we go with this one. And this is really all there is to it. Just seam it together, seam it together. It's really the simplest thing you can imagine. I'm getting all fiddly here because of course it's very, very hot in Florida at the moment. We are steaming! Doesn't make for very good concentration, but what the heck. The last piece together. I am doing this very roughly. Okay, and now we'll just put this over to the sides and you will see the magic. I don't think we can safely say that's our beautiful wrap front top. Pretty darn gorgeous, I think you have to admit. Okay, so that is the wrap over or crisscross front top version of the Classics Nouveau Three Graces t-shirt. I urge you to try all of them. They're fantastic. And all I can say after this is, thank you so much for watching.